Stop waiting for your circumstances to change before you change the way you speak about your life. The story you are telling right now is not neutral. It is not harmless. It is active. It is shaping what happens next. And most people do not realize that they are rehearsing the past while calling it honesty. They think they are being realistic, grounded, factual. But what they are actually doing is practicing a story that keeps recreating itself. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You cannot create something new while emotionally living inside the old story. You cannot move forward while explaining why things have been difficult. You cannot open a new chapter while narrating the previous one in detail. And yet this is exactly what most people do. They say they want change, but then they explain the problem first. They give context. They justify. They bring history into every sentence. And then they wonder why nothing shifts. When Esther talks about telling a new story, she is not talking about lying. She is not talking about pretending things did not happen. She is talking about where your energy lives while you speak. She is talking about what you are activating. Because every time you tell a story, you are not just describing something. You are aligning with it. Most people think they are stuck because the situation is complicated. In reality, they are stuck because the old story is well rehearsed. It comes out effortlessly. It has rhythm, has emotion. It even has humor. You have told it so many times that it feels natural to tell it again. The new story feels awkward by comparison. It feels unfinished. It feels unproven. And because of that, people assume it is less real. But reality is not created by what has already happened. Reality is created by what you consistently align with now. There are always two stories available to you. The story of what you do not want and the story of what you do want. You already know both. The moment you know what hurts, you also know what you desire instead. The moment you know what feels wrong, you also know what would feel right. The problem is not that you do not know the new story. The problem is that you keep translating it through the old one. You say things like, "Things have been hard, but they are getting better." You say, "I am still struggling, but I am hopeful." You say, "It is not where I want to be yet, but maybe one day." You think this is balanced? You think this is healthy? But energetically, you are keeping the old story active while giving the new one a small footnote. That is not a new story. That is the old story with a hopeful ending that never quite arrives. Telling a new story does not mean explaining how you got there. It means starting where you want to be. It means telling the story of what is becoming, not what has been. It means speaking from creation, not regurgitation. And this is where most people hesitate, because they have been taught that they must be factual to be credible. But manifestation does not respond to factual accuracy. It responds to vibrational consistency. You do not need permission to tell a new story. But you might feel like you do, because the old story has been validated so many times. People nodded when you told it. They empathized. They laughed at the same parts. They understood why you felt the way you did. The new story does not get that same response immediately. It feels quieter. It feels internal. It feels less dramatic. And drama has a strange pull. The old story feels satisfying to tell because it is familiar. It's not because it serves you. When Esther pushes people to tell the new story without translation, she is doing something very specific. She is cutting the energetic cord to the past. She is saying, do not warm us up with context. Do not explain why this matters. Do not bring us through the pain first. Jump straight to the benefit. Jump straight to the desire. Jump straight to the version of reality that already exists in your vortex. So the moment you do that, something shifts. Not just for you, but for everyone listening. When you tell a clean new story, without apology, without justification, without explaining what used to be wrong, you invite others into that frequency. Stop asking for understanding and start offering alignment. And alignment is influence. This is why telling the new story can feel radical. It feels like you are skipping steps. It feels like you are leaving something out. It feels unfinished. But that discomfort is not because the story is wrong. It is because your nervous system is used to the old one. Think about how often you rehearse what went wrong. Think about how quickly you can explain why something has been difficult. Think about how easily the old details come to mind. That is practice. That is momentum. That is familiarity. Now imagine what would happen if you practiced the new story with the same consistency. Not once, not dramatically, not in a moment of inspiration, but calmly, repeatedly, without checking whether you believe it yet. Belief follows repetition, not the other way around. When Esther says, "Do not dissect the new story," she is protecting it. The mind wants proof. The mind wants timelines. The mind wants guarantees. But creation does not happen through analysis. It happens through alignment. And alignment happens when you allow the feeling of the new story to become familiar. This is why she insists on starting clean. No backstory, no comparison.
Wow.
No explanation of what you believe and what you do not. Just the story. My life is expanding. My relationships are harmonizing. My body is responding to care and ease. My work is flowing into greater clarity. I am supported. I am guided. Short, simple, clean. The moment you add, "even though it used to be hard," you are back in the old story. And this applies especially to relationships. Most people think they are telling stories about other people, but they are really telling stories about themselves in relationship to those people. When you speak about someone else, you are revealing where you stand vibrationally in relation to them. That is what matters. You do not need to know where someone else is, what they are doing, or how they are behaving in order to tell a new story. You only need to decide how you want to feel in relation to them. That feeling is the story. Every relationship is mostly about potential. When you meet a partner, you are not relating to who they are in that moment. You're relating to what you imagine you will become together. When you have a child, your relationship is mostly about the future you desire for them. When you start a new job, the relationship is about fulfillment, growth, contribution. Only later do people begin to collapse the relationship into what is happening now. They let present conditions dictate emotional tone, and that is when the story shrinks. But relationships do not have to be dictated by current behavior. They can be dictated by dominant desire. You do not tell a new story in order to change someone else. That is manipulation. That is control. That is the old story wearing spiritual clothing. And you tell a new story because alignment feels better. And when alignment feels better, everything reorganizes around it. This is where people get confused about free will. They think, what about the other person? What about their choices? But the law does not work through force. It works through resonance. You do not override someone else's will. You simply stop aligning with versions of them that do not match your dominant vibration. And what does not match falls away. So that is not punishment. That is physics. Telling a new story is not about convincing reality to change. It is about cleaning up your vibration so thoroughly that only matching experiences can meet you there. That is what Esther means by cleaning up your vibration. It is not effort. It is not discipline. It is not emotional bypassing. It is selective focus. It is choosing which parts of life you keep active in your awareness. Every time you isolate the best components of a situation and keep them alive through thought and feeling, the rest loses momentum. It's not because you fight it, but because you stop feeding it. This is the art of allowing. You already sorted out what you want. Your source already holds it. The only thing left is for you to go where it is being held. And you do that by telling the story that matches it. It's not tomorrow. Not when it feels easier. Not when circumstances catch up. Now, and the moment you do, you will feel the difference. Less tension, more relief, a sense of rightness. Not excitement necessarily, but ease. And ease is the signal that alignment has begun. You do not need to make the new story dramatic. You do not need to convince anyone else. You do not need to explain yourself. You simply need to stop repeating what no longer serves you. The old story is not wrong. It is just complete. And the new story is not fragile. It is simply unfamiliar. Tell it anyway. And then tell it again and again, till it becomes the most natural thing in the world.